Hello, and welcome back to It's a Scullion Thing. That's a bold choice, isn't it? Well, you're in the thick of it now, but thank you for returning to the podcast where chaos, crack, and questionable parenting choices collide in glorious fashion. If this is your first time visiting us, I want you to close your eyes and picture the scene. 1 legendary mummy, 11 wild children, set in the beautiful but slightly worn-torn backdrop of West Belfast during the Troubles. Yep, this isn't the Partridge Family. So, if you're expecting one of those heartwarming family dramas where everybody learns a life lesson and hugs at the end, well, you're in the wrong place. This is the complete opposite of that. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is more like Shameless had a one-night stand with the Peaky Blinders, and then the Scullions were born. We're talking 6 girls, 5 boys, 1 overcrowded house, 0 personal space, and Olympic-level sibling warfare. And you're only scratching the surface. Add in political unrest, power cuts, and the occasional riot, and bam, you've got yourself the perfect storm for domestic mayhem. This podcast is packed full of stories about the original Scullion children. Bridie's little insurgents, the founding members of this circus. And I swear that all these stories are at least 95% true, with a wee sprinkle of magic, just to make them suitable for public consumption. I'm your host. I'm Brona Scullion, the eldest Scullion grandchild, raised right slap bang in the middle of this lunacy. I heard it all. I lived through some of it. And now I'm here to tell you what they probably hoped would be forgotten. Because this isn't just a podcast. It's a group therapy session for anyone raised in absolute mayhem. So, grab a cuppa or something stronger, recommended, and strap in. This is Belfast. This is my family. This is It's a Scullion Thing. This Scullion story is called The Fast and the Foolish. Seamie Scullion, West Belfast's most dramatic wee hood. I'm giving a special shout out to my Uncle Seamie this week because, God love him, he had a wee bit of an accident and is in hospital at the minute. But don't worry, he's fine. I just thought, what better way to show him that I care than to take the utter piss out of him? You know, the Scullion love language. But, as usual, before we go any further, I have to warn you. This Scullion story, like all of them, contains very bad language, 1 clueless wee hood, an emotionally unavailable German shepherd, and a failed hot wiring attempt that was so bad, even the dog side lit a cigarette and just waited to be caught. So, if any of these things upset or offend you, this is not the podcast for you. So you need to switch off now. You have been warned. This story centers around Seamie Scullion, aka the rebel without a clue. And as the nickname suggests, Seamie Scullion was always a wee bit of a rebel and always a wee bit clueless. But like all his brothers and sisters, Seamie was very headstrong and loathed injustice. And as a youngster, of course, all the world's injustices were aimed directly at him. Our Seamie was always getting into scrapes, misdemeanor trouble, boy stuff, nothing that could put him away. Well, thankfully, this story takes place before internment was introduced in Northern Ireland, when just being a Catholic walking down the street would get you arrested. But that's the story for another day. Anyway, he didn't get into any serious trouble, but enough to make my granny's head spin at times. One thing about our Seamie, he loves animals. He always had a dog hanging out him, and of course, this story has a beautiful dog in it. Although, I think by the end, Seamie wished it hadn't, because, to be honest, this dog probably should have been done for treason. The dog in question was called Cheetah. He was the family pet. I know, because there weren't enough mouths to feed in the house, right? Recently, I asked my mummy why the dog was called Cheetah, because I thought it was an unusual name for a dog. And with a completely straight face, my mummy looked me straight in the eyes and said, because he was black. I mean, what the fuck? But I'm just going to leave that one with you, because I have learned not to question what goes on in an OG Scullion's mind. The Scullions always had a pet dog or two, and rabbits and birds. You get the picture. We love animals. Cheetah was a beautiful, loyal, and sometimes clumsy German Shepherd. The story goes, a young Seamie decides one day that he had had just about enough of the sheer injustices that were taking place in the Scullion house, and he was going to run away from home, and they would all be sorry. Just like Butch Cassidy, he was going to take off, travel around, just him and his trusty dog, putting right all the wrongs they found along the way, bringing justice back to the land. They were going to travel far and wide. They would be whispering his name in every town he came to. And just like in the movies, men would fear him and women would want him. Okay, now, I have to say, this is a young boy's imagination, and it was, shall we say, very fertile. Off Seamie went, dandering down the road like the littlest hobo, all his belongings in his wee bag and his trusty dog by his side. This was all he needed in the world. He didn't need that madhouse filled with lunatics that just didn't appreciate him. He was going to make something of himself and never think about those people again. But they would think about him. Oh yeah, they would miss him. As he wandered aimlessly down the road, lost in his own wee world, imagining all the adventures that him and Cheetah were going to have, he failed to notice it was getting dark. Then he felt his stomach rumble, and he realized he didn't know where he was. And oh yeah, it was getting dark and cold. Reality set in. Well, as much as reality does in a young boy's mind. Where were they going to sleep? What would they eat? A wee bit of panic crept into Seamie now. Then he remembered he had stole a loaf of bread from his mummy before he left the house. Ha ha ha! Yes, he thinks, we have food. He looks at trusty Cheetah and says, don't worry, boy, we have food, and I'll find us somewhere to sleep. He was full of confidence now, which was short-lived. As they walked around the dark, cold streets of West Belfast, looking in the windows at all the families sitting having their dinner, Seamie started to wonder if he'd made a horrible mistake. No, he thought, no, this is it. They don't deserve me. So he kept walking. It was late now, and he needed somewhere to sleep, when he happened upon a car and thinks, oh yeah, this is perfect. So he starts to break into the car, you know, as you do. So Seamie's trying to jimmy the lock in the car. Meanwhile, thinking to himself, shit, this isn't as easy as they make it look in the movies. This shit's hard. Anyway, after about 15 minutes of jimmying around with the lock, voila, he's in. He feels shit hot right now. Seamie and Cheetah climb into the back seat of the car where they snuggle up and are finally nice and warm. But eventually, the novelty wears off and Seamie gets bored and thinks, I know, I'll hotwire the car. Again, as you do. We can use the car, Cheetah, to get us down south. Yes, this was, in our Seamie's head, the best plan in the world. And he'd seen it in the movies. How hard could it be to hotwire a car? Well, as it turns out, it's fucking hard. Seamie starts to fumble around in the car's undercarriage, not really knowing what the hell he was doing. So he pulls the cover off, exposing the wires, grabs a handful of wires and starts rubbing them together. Nope, that didn't work. Another handful, rubbing. When finally, bang. Nope. The car didn't start, because guess what? Our Seamie didn't know how to hotwire a bloody car. No, the car didn't start. The lights came on and shone right in to the owner's living room window. Shit! Seamie could see your man jump to his feet and start running out of the living room. The man disappeared out of sight, then re-emerged at the front door with a big fuck off bat. Oh shit! Seamie thinks. Let's go, Cheetah, he roars. So Seamie and Cheetah manage to get out of the car before your man reaches it and take off running up the street, running as fast as their wee legs could carry them. Seamie still finding time to turn back, stick his 2 fingers up and shout obscenities at the man. The man, who was surprisingly fit, was showing no signs of slowing down. Oh no, this fucker was like the Terminator. He was not giving up. Seamie thought, oh shit! Come on, Cheetah! He roared again at the dog. Cheetah stepped it up and bolted. Unfortunately for Seamie, Cheetah bolted right across him, catapulting him into the atmosphere. Had he not been running for his life, a young Seamie probably would have thought this was amazing. Anyway, as the saying goes, what goes up must come down. And he did, with a bang. But not just a bang. He didn't just land and stop. Oh no, he landed and kept sliding forward till there was little or no skin left on his hands and knees. And when he looked up, tears streaming down his poor wee face, there was a very angry, out of breath man standing over him. The man bends over and gives Seamie a clout around the ear. Yes, again, these stories take place in the 70s. And in the 70s, not only could you still hit your own kids, but you could hit other people's. Oh, what a time to be alive. The man grabs a young Seamie by the scruff, picks him up like a wee rag doll. Meanwhile, Cheetah, the German shepherd, was sitting licking his paws. Aw, but he had run such a long way, bless. So a young Seamie is being dangled in midair by a total rando, while his dog, his protector, his partner in crime, sits back and watches. Some fucking guard dog you are, Seamie thinks. The man shakes Seamie. Right, you little shit. Where do you live? A young Seamie was broken at this stage. He was cut to ribbons. He was cold. He was hungry. 'Cause the bread he stole was shit. And the dog ate most of it anyway. Fucker. So Seamie told the man where he lived. And as it turns out, in Seamie's vast travels, they were only actually 3 or 4 streets away from my granny's house. So a young Seamie is frog marched back to the house, where a shocked Bridie opens the door. You see, Bridie had that many kids that sometimes she may or may not have lost track of one or two of them, here and there. So when she opened the door and saw a young Seamie dangling in the air, she said, "What are you doing there? I thought you were in bed." Well, fuck my life, Seamie thinks. They didn't even notice I was gone. I hate this fucking house. The man explains to my granny what Seamie had done. And with that, he puts Seamie down, gives him a root up the hole. "Get in that house, you wee shit," the man roars. My granny, of course, completely ignoring the physical assault on her child, begins apologising to the man. "I'm awful sorry, mister. I pay for any damage. It won't happen again. I'm so sorry." My granny would kill me if she heard me taking her off like that. The man, to be fair, just laughed and says to my granny in a whispered voice, "Ach, there was no damage done, love. He didn't know what he was doing. And sure, we all tried to run away from home at some stage when we were kids, didn't we? I was only trying to scare him into not doing it again." "Oh, thank you, mister. Thank you." And with that, the man went, walking off into the distance with his bat over his shoulder. Nah, there was a man who brought justice back to the streets. He was a man who people would talk about and women would want, Bridie thought, as he sauntered down the street. Oh, the irony. Bridie snapped out of it and closed the front door. She slowly turned to face a young Seamie. She somehow seemed to grow bigger in that long, dark hallway. Her eyes were glowing with anger now as she looked straight at him, and through gritted teeth she seethed, "Get up them stairs, now!" Seamie didn't wait around. With lightning speed, he bolted up the stairs to the safety of his room that he shared with 4 other brothers. "Where the fuck were you?" the boy said. Seamie started to tell the boys a wild tale of how he ran away and the things he had seen. The boys were engrossed in Seamie's tale when suddenly Bridie roars up. "And don't you think you're getting any dinner, you wee shit? I know it was you that stole my loaf of bread. If you ever bring another stranger to my door again, I'll let him kick the shit out of you." With that, the boys could see Seamie more clearly in the moonlit room. They could see he was covered in blood and bruises. They could see he'd been crying. All the boys started to roll around the floor laughing. "Ha ha, Seamie's in trouble. Seamie's in trouble." "You're full of shit, Seamie. Get into bed." Poor Seamie was mortified. He crawled into the bed. He put his head under the covers, had a wee cry, and thought, if it hadn't been for that fucking dog, he would have gotten away with it, and away from all of these. Bless. So, the moral of this Scullion story is, don't be a wee hood. And that's it for this episode of It's a Scullion Thing. I hope you survived. You're my only listener. I'll be back next week with another wild and totally true Scullion story. So, if you laughed, cringed, or thanked your lucky stars you weren't raised in a house with 10 siblings and a dog called Cheetah, please share the madness. Tell your mates. Tell your family. Even if it's only to make them feel better about their own crazy families. Be sure to follow, rate, and leave a wee review if you can. Unless you're Seamie. Seamie, you're banned from reviewing. Until next time, mind yourselves. See you soon. Bye.